Hey Rebels, today we welcome Sara Colonna onto the Rebellion Brewing podcast. She's a comedian, an actress, and a New York Times Bestselling Author. You may have seen her playing Lori on the latest season of Shameless. Yes. And last but not least, she's married to a local Saskatchewan boy. You may have heard of him. Just signed a deal with the Roughriders to be the new kicker, Jon Ryan.
Punter. Dang it. Come on.
Oh.
Come on. No.
I literally know nothing about football.
I used to not. Now I know a lot. Especially about kicking and punting.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
So before we get into all the other stuff, I just wanted to describe for our audience what we're about to do.
Okay.
We've laid out a really nice spread from Peg's Kitchen, Perogies, sausage cabbage rolls, and you tell me you've never had them before?
I've never had any of these. No. I mean, I've had sausage before, but obviously not from here. And then I've never had pierogies, and I've never had a cabbage roll.
And we're going to pair it with our New World Pilsner. It's a brand new beer we just released.
Which I already took a sip of and already really enjoy, by the way. I didn't save it for the pot. I was like, oh, this is so good. Let me just use this as an excuse for needing a drink of something. And it's so good.
Well, I'm glad you like it already.
It's delicious.
So do you want to taste the beer first, or do you want to tuck into some of the food? I'm really excited to know what you think about pierogies.
Okay. All right. Should I just get into the pierogi?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go for it, Jon.
Mm-hmm. John's here, too. He just doesn't get a microphone. We don't let him talk anymore. He's just here to play football.
I married an American girl, I know. She does all my talking.
Okay. Oh, that's delicious. It's like a dumpling with cheese in it.
Very similar, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what's not to love?
It's like an Eastern European take on a dumpling.
Yeah, that's really... Maybe I have had one before.
So to tell you a little bit about the history of the pierogies.
So good.
So in Ukrainian culture, they have Ukrainian Christmas on a little bit different calendar than the standard December 25th Christmas.
Right. One
of the 12 meatless dishes is pierogies. So they'll eat 12 meatless dishes, and they'll feature like really great bread and really great pastas. And this is one of those pieces.
Yeah, these are really good. Are these what did you say, Pegs?
This is from Peg's Kitchen. She's located on Park Street in Regina.
Is she the one? Is she the person to go to for your pierogies?
In my opinion, it's the best pierogies you can get.
It's delicious. It's like melts in your mouth.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She also has pierogi poutine, so you can get gravy and cheese curds and bacon, all that crazy stuff.
Yeah, these are amazing. Okay, what do I eat next? I'm going to try the sausage. Now, is this something you would normally get all together?
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn my Canadian.
This is more of a Saskatchewan thing.
Oh, I'm trying to learn that too. I just want to fit in.
Well, the pierogies are
food and beer is a good way to do it. It seems like here, so I'm all in on that.
If you love pierogies, you're going to find a lot of people will love you for it. So pierogies used to be known as peasant food. My grandpa and great-grandpa were telling a story about how when they had just the hut on the bald prairie with a dirt floor, they would hide the pierogies when guests came over, and they would bring out the meat, but the meat was literally just the pigeons they had collected from the barn because they wto so poor. But now it's become this whole new thing where everybody's like, it's comfort food. I love it. I'm not ashamed of pierogies.
No, they shouldn't be. It's like to me, it's like a delicacy. It's so good. And that sausage, by the way, is delicious. Did you try it? Talking to someone who doesn't have a camera. I mean, a microphone is probably not helpful to you. I just brought Jon Ryan to eat food and look at me.
He's nodding his head.
Mm-hmm. No, that's really good. Yeah, I know. I need to know all about how to fit in here and experience all the things that everyone likes, so that I don't stick out like a sore thumb.
And then cabbage rolls. When I was a little kid, I hated cabbage rolls. I didn't get it. But then I just fell in love with them.
Yeah, I've definitely never had a cabbage roll, and I've always thought it doesn't, in description, it doesn't sound good to me. So we're going to see what happens here. Well, that's really good, too.
And there's tons of different styles. You can get.
I'm going to be very happy here.
You can get rice and tomato, or rice and pork, rice and beef.
This is rice and tomato?
Yes.
I think, yeah. It's really good.
The Ukrainian style has no meat. And then, Romanian style, which is what my grandma did, it comes with tons of beef.
Like ground beef?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could eat 6 of them at once.
This is delicious. Yeah. Well done, Pegs.
Cheers.
And now the beer. Cheers.
So this beer is designed to go with this food.
It's really good. I know you've you said before we started that you've had one negative review on it.
Actually, it was on one of our sours.
Oh, it was on a sour. It was on something else. Because I was like, how could anyone have it? But also, like...
Yeah, the guy said he wanted to eat his dad's cum from his dog's butt.
So it just seems like that guy has, like, some fantasies that you can't control or help, that no matter what kind of beer he has, he's still wanting to do that. That's kind of not your problem, just FYI. So
we got to think of a good comeback. Like, how do we get him back without seeming like total jerks?
I think you just say, please go do that and let us know which tastes better. Like, go for it.
Send a picture.
Yeah, please. Pixar didn't happen, buddy. No, this beer's great and does go very well.
The New World Pilsner is a brand new, limited time seasonal offering. It's one of the very first beers we've actually done as a lager. Most of our beers are done as an ale. The distinction being the kind of yeast you use and the temperature you ferment at. So lagers take longer, so that's why we don't typically do it, because we just need to turn over that much beer that quickly. We need to move very quickly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing, right? Good problem to have.
And you smell it, it's like...
It's so good. Yeah. It also tastes like kind of light to me, but even though it's probably not, but it tastes light, like it doesn't, I don't know. For me, I'm not always a huge beer drinker because sometimes I'll feel like it's, like I get full too fast drinking it or something, but this tastes like...
It's only 4.8%.
As I eat a pierogi, a sausage, and a cabbage roll with it. And then wonder why I might get full.
I would definitely say it's on the lighter version of the spectrum. It's designed to be something you can drink and enjoy with a meal, but you're not going to get trashed off it.
Right. Then forget it. I don't want it.
And that classic Pilsner style, you go to the Czechoslovakia, or that Czech style of beer is supposed to be very approachable, agreeable.
Yeah.
And we wanted to really capture that.
Yeah, it definitely seems like something you could kind of drink all day and all night, so... That's a good thing.
So you said you wanted to learn more about Saski culture, Saski food, so you could fit in.
Yeah.
What have you learned so far?
What have I learned? I don't know that I've really learned anything yet. People in Canada are very nice compared to the U.S. I learned that a long time ago. But yeah, more welcoming and like friendly hometown. I grew up in Arkansas though, which has a very similar. Just because I live in LA now, where it's not like that in small town and friendly. But I grew up in that area, like in the South, which reminds me very much of Saskatchewan.
You don't have a strong Southern drawl.
I think just because it just kind of faded. Like I've been in LA for 20 years now, so I think it just kind of faded. But when I go home for Christmas, whatever, it just kind of comes back out.
Does it?
Yeah. If I hang out with my mom, suddenly my friends are like, who are you talking to? Like, what's that accent that's coming out of your mouth? And I'm like, it's the accent I grew up with.
Saying y'all?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Y'all and ain't and...
My wife does the same thing when she goes home to see her mom. She drops into that Wisconsin regional accent.
Yeah.
Like, who are you?
It's kind of endearing, though, right? It's kind of nice.
She says rough instead of roof.
Oh,
and then my little guy, he's 8 now, but he was 7 at the time. He's like, Mommy, why are you talking like that?
That's the best. When someone's just like, huh? You're talking funny. That's funny.
Do you have any Saskatchewan things left on your bucket list that you're going to make John take you to?
Well, I want to go to Craven. I feel like that's here, right? It's only like 45 minutes away or something. Yeah. I definitely want to do that. That feels like a rite of passage here. It feels like you kind of have to be able to do that.
Craven, I think they call it Country Thunder now.
Or that too, yeah.
Oh,
is it the same thing?
Still the same kind of thing, just a different name.
Oh, okay.
But it's like a big field and muddy and debauchery.
Yeah, I love country music. I sort of like festivals, but for the most part, don't like crowds of people. Like, I know that I will hate it, but also I'll love it. It'll be one of those things that I'll be like, oh my God, everyone's so annoying, but this is also the best day of my life.
You get a big, like, greasy guy, like, just wipe on you, and you're like...
Yeah.
And not because you wanted it, because he's just trying to get past it.
Yeah, exactly. Sure.
I only buy a few quick things when I'm out at the grocery store. And I guess I need to make a list, because if you make a list, then you can look at what all your items together might look like to someone else when they're in a basket. So here's an example. I was grocery shopping. This happened in June, which will make sense in a second. But I was grocery shopping, and I was going through the line. I had everything on the conveyor belt, and then there were these two guys behind me, like kind of cute, like early 30s guys, and they were like staring at me, and I was like, oh, here we go, Can't even go to the grocery store anymore. So then I was like bending over, like, oh, I need some gum. And then I realized they're not looking at me at all, right? They're looking at the conveyor belt, and that's when I became painfully aware of what was on there. I had 2 bottles of vodka, with the handle, the kind with the handle. Tampons, Skittles. I was hungry, and 2 Father's Day cards. Oh my God, these guys aren't checking me out. They're just looking at me like, oh my God, look at that girl with her period and her drinking problem and all those dads.
You're a working comedian.
Yes.
What does that mean? Like, for people who have no idea what that even means.
It means that I do stand-up, touring. I do clubs and theaters and wherever it is, different places. I have done the Casino Regina here. I performed there for John's golf tournament a couple years ago, or 2 years in a row, actually. Beautiful place. So yeah, for the most part, as far as the comedian is like stand-up part goes, it's like I was like, when my books came out, I would tour constantly, maybe like every weekend for 6 months to promote it. But now that I have a little more acting work, I sort of just tour when I can around my filming schedule and stuff. So it's just sort of, there's no like set tour or tour dates right now. It's just sort of like, oh, I'm off that weekend, or a club will offer a date and I'll go somewhere I haven't been yet. And it's fun.
I was watching your stuff on YouTube. I was trying to catch up. And I was like reading further. I'm like, oh, you're on Shameless.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
like a guilty pleasure.
Do you watch that show?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. Are you up to date on it,
I'm
or
just a little bit behind. I haven't caught up fully. Frank got dropped off in Canada.
Okay.
Is kind of where I'm at.
So you're not on. You haven't seen the episodes.
I haven't.
Yeah,
I've just seen the stills.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in the last 5 episodes of the last season, and then I start back next week, actually, on it for season 10.
Did that flow from like being comedian?
Kind of. I think. I mean, like I worked on a show called Chelsea lately, which was on E. Like a lot of people, I think, used to watch. And for comedians, that was a big show. It was like we had 3 comedians a night on it. It got like our touring, or all these things just got people more recognized, which was great because there wasn't anything like that before, where there was a show that just featured 3 comedians a night talking about topical stuff. And now. So that kind of led everyone's stand-up careers to better, and then that, the more visibility you have, and especially if you can act and are trying to, which was the other thing I was doing, but like when I was on that show, we couldn't really do both because we were working full-time. I was a writer on it too. So once I got off that show, I was not able as in like I wanted to be off the show. It was great, but once the show ended, we were all free to do a little more acting work and whatnot. So I'm on a show on Netflix right now called Insatiable. We just got our 2nd season wrapped. We just finished filming it. And I feel like that kind of stuff just leads to, it all just sort of helps lead to more work. I mean, I have to audition for it and all that stuff. And Shameless, luckily they picked me when I auditioned. Like, they just liked what I did. So, and they're bringing me back, so that's good. But
the show's pretty insane. Like, did you partake in the insanity?
Yeah. I have, my character's real creepy. So it's fun. It's a really strange, I'm not even sure where they're going with it, but it's fun. And I like that about that show too. Like, you're not, you know that what you're getting into, kind of like, it's insane. It's, everybody's literally shameless on the show. Like, that's the whole point.
Somebody was like, oh, it's a comedy. I'm thinking, no, it's more of a tragedy.
It's like a very dark comedy. Yeah, terrible things happen.
They tell a story, and then the hero perseveres, and then they have like a high point. It feels like that show's the opposite. they're persevering, working hard, and then they have a low point.
Yeah, a lot of low points on that show for sure.
The reverse.
Yeah, I think the coolest thing was like that it's one of my mom's favorite shows, which is just sort of random too, but she has a good sense of humor. And
Did you have to warn her about your episodes?
no, nothing like that. She did ask if I show my boobs, and I said, no, Mom, I don't show my boobs. Thank God, because I don't want you to have to ever watch a show where I show my boobs. That's weird. But it was her first question. She just wanted to prepare herself.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. But it was cool to get to call her and tell her that I was going to have a pretty solid, guest star too, because it was 5 episodes, and now I'll do another, I think 4 or 5. So it was cool to get to call her and tell her that I was doing something on a show that she loves. It's kind of a cool feeling. I was like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I felt proud.
What was the day like when you found out you were on the New York Times bestseller list?
That was pretty cool.
That's not nothing. That's huge.
Yeah. It's something somebody said to me when I made the bestseller list. I was number 5. No big deal. They were like, it was another author, and I forget why it came up, but she was just like, by the way, this is something they can never take away from you. You can use that as your introduction for the rest of your life. If you stop acting or stop doing stand-up and you feel weird being introduced as a comedian when you haven't done stand-up in years, or if you haven't been hired an actress in years, you feel weird being introduced as an actress, but they can't take that title away from you. It's always in print. I was like, okay, so I saved the print just so if anyone tries to take it away from me, I have a copy of the newspaper.
Booyah.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. It was, I was definitely emotional, and it was just, I was excited, and the thing that it takes to get there is you don't know, and you don't know who you're up against until that week comes out and what books are released and who's reading what and who cares. Who gives a shit to read your book? Who knows? You have no idea. So,
what direction should we point people if they want to find your comedy and then chase you down on YouTube?
It's SaraColonna.com. It's COLONNA. My website has it would link to all that stuff. My social media and all the book links to the book, buy the book. If I'm in town and I see you, I'll sign it. I should go to I go to bookstores when I can and just sign the copies that they have. So
because your style's a little twisted, right? It's not like a very soft, gentle humor.
No, yeah.
Deep.
I mean, I try to be very honest.
Raw.
Yeah, try to be honest and I'm not into shock value comedy. I'm more into just be honest about what we all sort of go through as human beings, whether it's relationships, friendships, and I'm making it sound more thoughtful than it probably is, but I just mean those are the topics I like to talk about, the real shit, the stuff we all go through every day, because that's what people can relate to. I feel like I used to try something else, and then I realized, why don't you just talk about your personal life, because A, it can never be mimicked, so you're not stealing it, but B, everyone can relate to it still, even though it's your own story, because we all go through life, right? So
you and Jon don't have a détente then, where you say, I can't talk about you in comedy?
No, he's been really good about it. He's been really good about it, because I sort of threw him into the fire in stand-up. He came to see me, which was terrifying to have someone come see you for the first time, but the first time he did, I was like, I'm going to talk a little bit about him, and at first I guess I was a little shy too, not also because of what he does, it's not as a relatable topic, right? I can't be like, I'm married to a football player, and people are like, yeah, me too. That's not, it's kind of a different world. But I learned, the more I got to know the world and the more strange things that I learn about it, or the experiences I have being on the other side of it, are fun for people to talk about, to hear about, especially fans of the game, to hear these, stories about what it's like on the other side of it, sort of. And put a little humor on some of the crappiness of it too, the injury or the fans or the
Do you have a favorite memory from your time with acting or comedy that comes back and you're sitting there drinking beers with your friends and you're just like, you'll never believe this happened?
I think one of my favorite, a random thing would be for one of my favorite comedy moments was probably when I was on Chelsea Lately, and so we were all, even though we were all headlining comedians at this point, as it went on, not at the beginning, but as it went on and we got more recognizable and people were actually paying for tickets to come to see us individually, Chelsea was also touring. And so even though we were doing our own thing, she would bring us to open for her on the road. And those shows were way bigger than the shows we were doing, obviously. It's like she had, 15,000 people instead of a few hundred or whatever. And so it was like you would go open for her in these gigantic situations, like open for a Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, and just like these places where you just feel like. But one time I got to open for her at Radio City Music Hall, and it was like because all the people that went to see her were such diehard fans of her and her show, so they all knew us. So it was like. It was almost like you're doing a show together, and you didn't feel like her like token opener or whatever. It was like you felt like, oh, this part of this. So it was like Radio City, and all these people were like waiting for us when we left and asking us all to sign, like asking me to sign autographs in the backstage of the Radio City. So it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Rebels, thanks for tuning in this week. I have some special news to announce. Rebellion Brewing Podcast is now part of the Saskatchewan Podcast Network. It's brand new. You can find it at saskpodcastnetwork.com. It's a central hub featuring locally produced podcasts by people located right here in our province. And what does that mean for you? Well, we won't be serving up any ads. My promise to you is to keep the show ad-free. But from time to time, we will play a clip from one of our member podcasters and let you know about the cool stuff and the cool stories they're telling. As always, if you want to find the latest news about Rebellion Brewing, be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Untapped. I'm going to be including links to all of Sara's stuff so you can find her books and her comedy show. Once again, thank you for joining Rebellion.